All right. Well, I think we're going to get started. People will be trickling in, but I hope that there are also our colleagues online. I actually don't have my computer up here, so I'm not seeing who's on virtually. But I want to provide a warm welcome to everyone here who's in person and our colleagues virtually joining us from around the world. I'm excited to say that for this conference, we have nearly 300 people here in person who will be here throughout today and tomorrow, and we have close to 2,000 people registered online. The people coming from in person are coming from 33 countries. So I think that's really pretty wonderful. And online we have just maybe about 100 countries being represented. So we're really pleased about that, that spread of geographies and people. I want to say that yesterday was our pre-launch day, and it was fantastic. We had 47 side sessions, both in person and virtually, and I think they were all really well attended and really got us in a wonderful mood. We had 3 planetary health meetings, our members meeting, our Next Gen meeting, and our regional hub meeting. And they were really incredibly energizing, and we're really excited about the community and activity that's happening around the world for planetary health. In addition, I also want to welcome our travel scholars. We have 24 travel scholars here from 19 countries. And again, that's really an important part of planetary health and the planetary health movement, is to have excellent geographic representation and voices from around the world. I'd also like to now thank our supporters. This slide up here provides you with the people and the groups that have given support specifically for this meeting. And certainly without them, we could not hold this meeting. And so thank you. I also want to give a big warm thank you to our advisory board and steering committee members who are both here virtually and in person. Many of them are panelists and speakers, so you'll be hearing from them throughout the day. Briefly, just some logistics. As I mentioned, this is a hybrid meeting, so there are people online and there are people here. We're going to try to stick as much as possible to the schedule so our online people know what they're looking at and when they should be coming on and leaving. I do want to also just mention that if you have any questions, please go to the registration table. One of my fantastic colleagues will be able to assist you. And I'd like to see just, there's another slide about submitting abstracts to challenges, the journal challenges. If it doesn't come up here, we have a big poster out in the hall. It's an opportunity for anyone to submit an abstract and a paper for the next year. And anything to do with planetary health, it can come out of collaborations here, conversations here. It can be research papers, it can be about side sessions, artistic and creative events. But please take a look at the poster outside and consider submitting. And now let's get to the real schedule. It is my sincere honor to introduce Ferris Gray, Sagamore of the Massachusetts tribe at Ponkapog, to give our true opening and welcome and to provide his remarks.
Wuniwinok. Good morning. My name is Ferris Gray. I am the Sagamore of the Massachusetts tribe at Ponkapog. We're in Boston, and Boston is the ancestral homelands of the Massachusetts tribe. Our ancestors were here for thousands and tens of thousands of years before the Europeans came. And we're here today to talk about planetary health, the health of our planet, basically. And this is something that the indigenous communities have been saying forever, is that this is our planet. We can't do some things. And this is one of the challenges for indigenous people, to help those who don't realize they are indigenous, to realize that you can't destroy our own environment. And I always like to begin with saying that we are all indigenous, all of us, unless we come from a different planet. We're all from here. we all have indigenous ancestry, all of us. And some of us are further removed from it than others. And I just ask anyone who doesn't know their own ancestry to do some research, to find out what their indigenous ancestors believed, because I guarantee they had it right before they too were colonized at one point. Now, I am from the Massachusetts tribe. We are indigenous to here. This is our home. This is where we were when the colonists arrived. And when the colonists arrived here, they came first for the fish. Then they came for the land. They took everything. They even took our name and named this Commonwealth Massachusetts. So for my tribe, they took everything, even our name. And when they first came, we told them, you can't catch all the fish. And they said, sure we can, watch us. Do you know what kind of technology we possess? We can catch all the fish, watch us. And they did. They caught all the fish. Then they came inland, and they started cutting down all the trees, all our old growth forest. And we told them, you can't cut down all the trees. And they said, sure we can, watch us. Do you know what kind of technology we possess? We can cut down all the trees, and they did cut down all the trees here. Fast forward 400 plus years, and they have an epiphany. Wait a minute, we can't catch all the fish. We can't do that. The fish are gone. We can't catch all the fish. It destroys the ecosystem. Again, 400 plus years later, they realize we can't cut down all the trees because we need the trees. All life needs the trees. So in reality, the colonists who colonized what is the United States of America, 400 years later realized what the indigenous community was telling them when they first came here. Can't take everything. You can't destroy your own environment. So finally, we're at a place where we both understand things, finally. And you would think that preserving this place we all call home would be paramount, would be the number one thing, but it's not. You see, the indigenous communities weren't just colonized 400 years ago. We didn't just face colonialism 400 years ago. We're facing it today, every day when we wake up, because we're still telling them, you can't keep building and cutting down our forests. You can't keep treating life like it is unequal to our own. You can't keep doing these things. So you would think 400 years later, they would finally realize, maybe we should listen to the indigenous communities. Maybe we should listen to them, to their knowledge of this place, of our own ecosystem. Maybe we can learn something. And even today, the Massachusetts tribe is at odds with the city of Boston for the islands, for our harbor islands. Now, if no one has ever been to the Boston Harbor Islands, they are a beautiful place, one of the few places within the city that the ecosystem is primarily still intact. And so we asked Boston, can you please return these islands to their natural way, to what they once looked like? Can you remove the buildings that you're no longer using, the forts that are there, repurpose the granite? Can you do these things? Because these islands need to heal. They still don't hear us, though. So there's still not an understanding that the indigenous community knows exactly what to do to help heal our own planet. We're still at odds over this 400 years later. And this is something that's happening today in our own harbor. And so we continue to ask Boston if they can finally realize that this space needs to heal. And that's why I ask everyone to learn about the indigenous communities that they come from, that their ancestry comes from, because there is knowledge in that. There's this misconception that we're not all indigenous people, and we are. All of us are indigenous to this planet. This is all of our homes. We are all related, and it's not just humans that are related. All of us are related. All life are related. We're all in this same ecosystem, this closed ecosystem. But we don't operate that way. We treat life like it's not equal to our own. But I guarantee your indigenous ancestry has teachings that say we are all equal. Every blade of grass is equal to our own. Every life has a spirit. Everything, every life force is important. So when you're done today with this beautiful thing that all of us are gathered for, please do some reflecting of your own indigenous ancestry and find out what they knew and their knowledge so we can all connect. Thank you. Faris Sagamo Gray.
So welcome everybody to the 5th Planetary Health Annual Meeting. We were here 6 years ago for the first Planetary Health Annual Meeting right here in the Martin Center. And since that time, we have seen really an extraordinary explosion in activity across the field of planetary health and really across the world. The Planetary Health Alliance has expanded from a handful of organizations to over 320 organizations in 64 countries, over half of which are lower and middle income countries. We've seen new journals, new degree programs, professorships, courses, institutes, national and multilateral initiatives from Brazil to Sweden, from Japan to Canada. Whole universities are restructuring themselves around the concept of planetary health, but more on that at the end of our meeting. And I think it's really hard to overstate how rapidly our field and our community and our movement have grown in only 6 years. Our field is gaining extraordinary momentum and expanding across the world, driven not by academic curiosity or the pursuit of individual honors and accomplishments, but out of a growing recognition of the gravity of the challenges that we face, the moment that we find ourselves in. We come together today, both in person and so many of you virtually, as a community forged in urgency and carrying a deeply important message: that the Earth crisis is precipitating a global health crisis, and that we can no longer safeguard human health and well-being while the natural life support systems are crumbling underneath the weight of our collective ecological footprint. As a community, we need to build understanding of how rapidly changing biophysical conditions are impacting health across populations around the world. And we need to build momentum for the deep, rapid, transformational change in how we live that will be needed to protect and regenerate our life support systems and ensure a livable future for humanity and the rest of life on Earth. We need to grow the field and build the movement. Looking out across this room and knowing that there are thousands of you who are joining us virtually, I really am inspired by the work that all of you do, and honored and humbled to be in community with all of you. So I get to introduce now the moderator for our first panel, but first I want to acknowledge the exceptional efforts of the team that has organized this meeting. Putting on this meeting is always an enormously complicated effort, requiring attention to about 10,000 details. And this year, creating a hybrid meeting was particularly complex. So I want to express huge thanks to the following people who've been working nights and weekends for far too long to bring this event into being. Please let us recognize the PHA team, including Kevin Green, Joanna Wagner, Jeremy Pivor, Nikki Christensen, Carlos Ferron, and Marie Studer, as well as our amazing interns Joe Borgard and Kent Boyd from the University of Minnesota, Ty Rogers, Tulsi Modi, Jania Sarkar, and Bear Aragon from here in Boston. So let's give them a round of thanks. Before we start our first panel, we are getting a welcome from Dr. Louise Ivers. It's a great pleasure to introduce Dr. Ivers. Louise is the director of the Harvard Global Health Institute, which works across all the schools at Harvard on issues related to global health, particularly those which require interdisciplinary work and coordination across schools. Dr. Ivers is also director of the Mass General Hospital Center for Global Health and the David Bangsberg Endowed Chair in Global Health Equity at Mass General Hospital. Welcome, Louise.
Thank you. Hello, good morning. Welcome everyone to Harvard University. Welcome to the 2022 Planetary Health Alliance annual meeting. The field of planetary health has never been more salient and critical. In a time when the well-being of our planet and its residents is in danger, eco-anxiety can feel paralyzing and hope can be difficult to locate. Many young people that I speak with feel that hope on this issue is elusive, but I believe that this convening itself and this phenomenal alliance is very much evidence to the world of the commitment and care that we all share. We're in a room and in a virtual space that's filled with incredible scholars, thinkers, doers, and advocates who are devoting their time towards applied research and policy and are absolutely committed to change. Individual environmental action can feel like far too little, but when we come together, we're no longer simply individuals. This conference provides an opportunity to collaborate, to harness the vibrant momentum for planetary health, and to advance the issues with the power of collective action. While the challenges are many, I'm always looking for positive progress to show what's possible to do. And we saw how a solar-powered town in Florida weathered much of Hurricane Ian without being scathed. I see children being given space at the UN climate change meeting next month in Egypt for the first time. A number of European countries that are accelerating their fossil fuel phase-out plans. And I recently heard from Sam Myers how planetary health is being piloted in a number of medical schools in Europe, in Sweden, in France, and the increasing adoption of the planetary health framework by European Union governments. There is a lot to do, but there is cause, I believe, to see the possibility of a great turning. I recognize and acknowledge that those who are most affected by environmental change and climate change are very often those who have made the least contributions to ecosystem destruction. These are the communities who we must look to and center in the work for change. For example, Indigenous communities, Indigenous activists, as well as those in the Global South, in small island nations, they bring their expertise and generations of knowledge to planetary health action. And our response to the planetary crisis must always be guided by them through intentional, mutual partnerships and collaboration. I hope that this conference serves as a venue for us all to learn from each other, to share our wisdom, to exchange, and to gain knowledge from the presenters and the fellow attendees. I'm very happy to be here, and I wish you all a welcome and a fruitful and enjoyable conference. Thank you.